On today's TCE Trim, the great Tony Bennett retires from the UVA edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with that promo code TCESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. That is the promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome everybody into the college basketball experience, TCE Trim. Boy, we're trimming up something here this evening, Noah Bieniek, because we are trimming up Tony Bennett retiring from UVA. Just 2 weeks before the season, so bombshell in college basketball mid-October. But first off, I am Moneyline Mac, aka the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And also known as Mac Tonight over here at the College Experience. And joining me to talk a little Tony Bennett Wahoos. Well, this guy, he is the window banging, drywall hanging, LeBaron driving, Noah Bieniek, a.k.a. Noah B77. This isn't a conference preview, man. This is we didn't schedule this out last night when we talked.
Yeah, this is an old-fashioned TCE Trim, taking out the biggest headline of the day in college basketball preseason. Tony Bennett has retired. Before we get to any of this, we had talked about this possibly happening many times throughout the last year. I think this might have surprised a lot of people on the timeline, but I even went back today and I pulled this clip out of our ACC conference preview last year, October 3rd, 2023. Colby's unable to join us today because he's in Vegas for Mountain West and WCC Media Day. But here's his take from all the way back then. Hopefully my computer gets through it all, because as soon as I've pulled this up, I'm now lagging. So my apologies.
I've already said by them getting Sanchez, the former Charlotte coach, they got to leave. I'm speculating. I'm creating this myself. I have no inside tips, sources, whatever. That Tony Bennett's going to retire after the year. And what is it? Ron Sanchez will be the next head coach. That's my guess, because something didn't make sense to me about that hire. Something, he's about to go into a pivotal year at Charlotte, and then he just dips out to go to his old job. I mean, more money is possible, but something's weird. I've already.
So there you have it. I hope it came through all the way. Did it, Mac?
It did. Good job. Your computer didn't blow up today, so there you go. That's a pro.
Thank God. All right. Colby had that take October 3rd, 2023. 2 weeks before the regular season begins. Virginia tips on November 6th against Campbell. He retires. Mac, we talked about this pre-show, that this is something that some coaches obviously aim to do. I have some questions about whether it's morally correct for everybody in the situation, but I want to help everybody kind of map this out, and how we kind of maybe predicted, Colby predicted it last year that it would happen. Maybe not this late, but they go and get Ron Sanchez, who is the lead assistant under Tony Bennett from 2009 to I think 2018. He then goes over to Charlotte, and he's the head coach for Charlotte for 5 years. He has a .480 winning percentage, never got to the NCAA tournament with the 49ers. All of a sudden, they win the CBI, and then he bolts from Charlotte to Virginia in a season that Charlotte should have been poised to contend for the conference title last season. It screamed something to us, correct?
Yeah, I know we talked about it multiple times, like you said. You kind of hinted at it that it felt like Tony Bennett was not all the way. I mean, I don't want to say he wasn't all in because they still were able to get back to the tournament, but he was on record. He didn't like the NIL. He didn't like the portal era. He's from the throwback era of get 4-year guys, get them better each and every year, and then by the time they're juniors and seniors, they're going to produce at a higher and higher level. And just like Jay Wright at Villanova, and just like some of these older guys, for example, Tom Izzo still at Michigan State, and that's what he was, and he kind of just felt like he was reluctant to buy into this portal and NIL era, and he slowly started taking a couple more transfers, but they're not a transfer portal and NIL program. I mean, like I said, man, they rely on development, team basketball. They play the famous pack line defense. They want to drag the game into the mud, play the game in the 50s. And it's just not really in terms of the modern game what everybody thinks is sexy and attractive, but it's effective because nobody else does it. It's like running the triple option in football. Nobody wants to do it, but it's so unique and different that you're able to grind out games. And that's why he was still able, even with teams that we all agreed were from a talent standpoint, way down these last 3 to 4 years. I mean, he didn't have the pros that he had on that national championship team or that little run from about 2015 to 2020 where they were having first round guys year in and year out in combination with program guys like Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome, and then they would sprinkle in some guys in the first round as well. So it's definitely a loss for college basketball today, losing a legend.
Yeah. And we had talked about it multiple times last season. You could just kind of map out what in the world was happening because Tony Bennett didn't want a retirement tour. And obviously he does this a week after the ACC Media Day, where all of the talk would have been about Bennett and not about this year's team.
Yep.
I don't know if it's morally correct because if he had told the team that he was going to do this, because now all of a sudden if they wanted to, they can portal for the next 30 days. But the problem is that you have nowhere to go because the season begins in 2 weeks and a lot of teams' rosters are already pretty full. So they're kind of stuck here. That's why I'm hoping that this was kind of a mastermind genius plan from Bennett and Sanchez and company, that this was going to be the coaching staff moving forward and under Sanchez. And I mean, Tony Bennett signed a contract extension in June, where Virginia, they signed Bennett, the basketball coach, they signed the baseball coach to an extension as well at the same time in June. And it was like, okay, maybe that threw everybody off the scent. It certainly threw me off the scent. But now coming back to it, it's like, oh, it makes all the sense in the world that literally nobody was expecting this. And everybody's going to ask, well, certainly he's in the position. He's like the biggest coach in Virginia basketball recent history. Like he would be able to select his next predecessor, right? And maybe he was nervous that he wouldn't have been able to. So that's why you draw it out until late October and you get Ron Sanchez in. So, Mac, you talked about this as well. Like other coaches have done this in previous, situations, correct?
Yeah. So Calhoun, I think, retired in September, and then he handed it off to his assistant, Bo Ryan, who I know you mentioned Tony Bennett has kind of always been linked to. He stepped down in the middle of the year, handed it off to Greg Gard. From a coach's standpoint, I absolutely love the decision and to not make it about himself, hand it off to his guy, Ron Sanchez, and keep that staff intact, just because I do think that they would have picked the predecessor, like you said, and given it to Ron Sanchez. But he was able, with this decision, to wait this long, leave the roster intact that probably was mainly recruited by Sanchez and Jason Williford and guys already in that Virginia program. And I think the other thing, too, is you kind of look at these legends that have gone out. Roy Williams, they they promote Hubert Davis. Jay Wright, they promote Kyle Neptune won and then he came back. Coach K, John Shire. So I'm pretty sure that they would have given it to Ron Sanchez, but Tony Bennett, with this decision, gave Ron Sanchez the best opportunity to win with continuity right away because they've been practicing and hearing his voice in practice and that staff's voice in practice. So for me, I'm happy for those guys on staff that they get to stick together and coach this team.
Well said. I love that. We're going to take a short break, then we'll talk about Tony Bennett more on the career point of view after this. But the NBA season tips off October 22nd, and the NBA Gambling Podcast is hosting a win totals contest where the winner gets a $250 SGPN gift card. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA contest to enter today before the season starts. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA contest. And as always, thank you for tuning into these episodes, whether it be on YouTube or any podcast platform. Leave a like, subscribe, leave a rating, review. It's all, we very much appreciate it and helps us out grow this thing and get into people's inboxes prior to the college basketball season beginning. So we definitely appreciate it. And it's the only way that we can prevent corporate gambling from taking over. Also, Underdog Fantasy is providing Boost-tober, which means that you're getting a spooky amount of profit boosts and so much more on NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, WNBA, and NASCAR, NHL, or college basketball when the season begins. And with NBA tipping off, every NBA pick'em entry from October 19th to October 27th will be boosted. So sign up today with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. And SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictive betting or predictions for betting lines. Predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. You can build your own model or copy one of the top performing ones from the leaderboard, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game, player, prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And the college basketball experience is also brought to you by BetUS. Bet with the best in the business. They've been around for over 30 years. And when you sign up and deposit at least $100, you have a chance to win a 1960 Ford Mustang. Use our link to sign up and get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. And we're back here on the college basketball experience celebrating the career of Tony Bennett now. 433 career wins. He was the ACC Coach of the Year 4 times. He won the ACC tournament twice, a 6-time ACC regular season champion. And that's, I think, one of the things that I think you have to credit him most, because not every single season was he entering the year with the most talented roster on paper, but he was consistently competing for ACC titles. He won 6 of them in the regular season. He was the 2-time Naismith Coach of the Year, won a national championship in 2019, going out as one of the top 5 coaches in present day. This was also tweeted out by John Rothstein. Tony Bennett, Jay Wright, and Roy Williams have combined to win 4 of the last 8 national titles, and now all 3 of them are out of the college basketball game. Mac, what are you going to remember Tony Bennett and his Virginia teams most by?
First off, and I always make the joke before I talk about like just the impact he had on versus like the style they played, is I would always joke with Duke and Carolina. I was like, the ACC doesn't run through Duke and North Carolina, it runs through Charlottesville, because Tony Bennett just keeps winning their ACC regular season title year in and year out. And that was when Coach K and Roy Williams had a really good team. They had a national championship team, but Virginia was the standard in the ACC for the last from that decade, about 2013 to 2023, with those 6 regular season titles. What I'll remember about Tony Bennett, and first off, don't forget, he took Wazoo to the Sweet 16 with Klay Thompson as well. So he's won it more than just UVA. But I'll just remember a guy that did things the right way. Just a guy that really carried himself the right way in an era where not the highest of character guys in the coaching industry in college basketball, and he stood out and but he stayed true to what he believed. They ran a style that was so unique, like I alluded to, the pack line defense, double in the post, hard hedging ball screens. You knew what you were getting night in and night out with Virginia. They were going to guard the shit out of you, and it was going to be like going to the dentist to play them because nothing was going to come easy at the rim or get an open jump shot. And then offensively, him able to marry that pack line defense with his blocker mover offense to play a slow offense as well, and really just complement that defense. So 2 unique styles, an older school way of doing things, but then it thrived in the modern day of basketball in an era where not a lot of teams or not a lot of players want to play in it, but Tony Bennett could get guys that maybe weren't as good talent-wise or stars-wise from a recruiting standpoint to buy in and win at a high level.
What I'm going to remember Bennett's coaching legacy is after 2018 March.
Yep.
So many questions about whether this style of play was going to be able to win in March, in April, in the NCAA tournament. There were so many questions, like borderline people calling for his head, wanting him out. And then he shuts them all up. They go out and they win the national championship in 2019, arguably as dominant as they were in 2018 as they were in 2019. Because I believe they were another number 1 seed in that 2019 year. And then they ran the table in March, and they were down 14, I think it was, to Gardner-Webb in the first round game that year too. And it was like, oh my God, here we go again with Virginia. But like to see him get to the mountaintop without giving in and without changing, that was certainly it's awesome stuff. Before we get out here, what is Tony Bennett going to be doing post-retirement? Matt Norlander says that he has a source saying that Tony Bennett's retirement, first off, is not health related. So we're all thankful that that's the case. But he said that he's been told he still wants to be involved in college athletics and wants to work through solutions to ease some of the issues that led Bennett to his retirement decision. So hopefully for the good of the game, he is going to work to fix some of the issues here that are obviously holding gray clouds over college sports right now. And we're seeing a lot of legendary coaches get out of the game and not truly enjoying their jobs anymore. But yeah, I think I've spoke everything that I wanted to say. Mac, do you have anything else that you want to add before we get out of here?
No, the only thing I would add is whatever he does, he'll be successful and he'll win at whatever he does. And if it's helping the game, I'm sure he'll do a hell of a job, just like he did in Virginia and Wazoo and Green Bay and Wisconsin for all those years. And I want to piggyback off your point with that 2019 team. It was hilarious just because everybody said they couldn't win close games in March with that style of play. Then they beat Oregon by 4. Purdue in that crazy overtime game in Elite Eight, Auburn in that Final Four crazy game, and then Texas Tech in the national championship in overtime. So, yeah, man, it's an end of an era for another really good coach, unfortunately. But it opens up an opportunity for a next wave of head coaches. I mean, we don't know. I know Ron Sanchez will slide in, but how does this affect the carousel potentially a year from now, 2 years from now? We'll see the next wave of head coaches, and hopefully Tony Bennett can spend some time with his family after a hell of a run.
100%. And you can find a bunch of these TCE trims in a playlist here on YouTube or in our podcast feed alongside the conference previews that we're doing. We have 11 more conference previews to cover all 31 conferences, all 364 Division I college basketball teams. This has been the College Basketball Experience. That's Moneyline Mac. You can follow him on you can follow him on Twitter at Moneyline_Mac. You can follow me on Twitter at NoahB77_. You can follow the show on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Sorry. to go find that Colby clip that has gotten some attention today after we posted it with this news coming out. So this was a great show, and we're going to wrap it up here. We encourage you to follow us, continue along with our journey here in the preseason of college basketball. And this has been the College Basketball Experience. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here.